Hi, it's me, Jacqueline. Welcome to my channel. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and join me at Patreon. Link in the description. Mike just shook his head. This was more than a room. It was a suite. There was a bedroom with a king-size bed, a sitting room, and a bathroom with a large jacuzzi tub. Mike said, "I can't believe this. A suite. A suite with a sitting room, a bedroom, and a bathroom that's almost bigger than our apartment. Lover, over the next 2 days, don't plan on seeing much of the sitting room. Plan on spending a long time getting reacquainted in the bedroom and the jacuzzi," she said, with a gleam in her eyes. Kidding, he said. "I thought we got reacquainted last night." Lover, you don't make up for 3 months in one night. She picked up the phone, dialed room service, and ordered them lunch. While they waited, they unpacked and put their clothes away. In about 15 minutes, there was a knock at the door. Mike opened it, and the room service waiter rolled a card in. Masumi gave him a nice tip, and they sat down to a nice lunch. After they were done, Mike rolled the card out in the hall, turned around, and was attacked by Masumi. It wasn't long before she not only had his clothes off, but hers also. She took his hand and led him into the bathroom. As she closed the door, she said, "Let's try out the jacuzzi." Quite a while later, she walked out of the bathroom, wrapping a terry cloth robe around herself, turned around, looked at Mike, who was still in the jacuzzi, and said, with a big grin, "Well, that made up for the first week. 1 down and 11 to go." As he sunk lower into the jacuzzi, he said, "If we keep this up, I'm not going to be able to walk." They really did leave the hotel. Later that afternoon, they went to downtown Hershey and walked the shops. Then that evening, they had dinner in the hotel's restaurant and took a walk around the grounds. They found a place to sit, somewhat like at her parents' house, and just cuddled for a while. Eventually, they headed back to their room. They found the bed turned down and 4 Hershey kisses on the pillows. Masumi looked at the kisses, then at Mike, and said, "You'd better eat those, lover. You're going to need the energy tonight." They slept in the next morning, recovering from the night's activity. Masumi was up first and was sitting at the dresser brushing her hair when Mike rolled over and watched her. She saw him in the mirror and said, "Good morning, lover." "Good morning, babe. Did you sleep good?" "Sure did. Did you?" "Yep. You wore me out yesterday." "Wore you out?" "I sure hope not. I still have a lot time to make up for." He just smiled. Getting out of bed, he headed for the shower. After he got started, she joined him. It was a long shower. They went down to the restaurant for lunch and again walked around the grounds, admiring the golf course. They found the same bench and sat for a while. Finally, Masumi said, "Think Michelle would like to go out for dinner tonight?" "Maybe. Where did you have in mind?" "I saw a place downtown that looked interesting." "Sounds good. Let's go find Michelle." They headed back to their room. Masumi pulled out Michelle's suitcase and placed it on the bed. She dug out the black corset, black nylons, black satin panty, black slip, breast forms, black wig, and the makeup case. Mike looked at her and said, "Looks like we're really getting dressed up." "You've got it, lover. I even brought along that silky little black dress. You know, how about Miyuki tonight? Can you do it?" "I think we can. May take a little work, but it'll be fun. Get changed, and then we'll start on the makeup." Mike stripped, slipped on the black satin panty and the nylons. Then he wrapped the corset around himself, fastened the busk, and slipped in the breast forms. Masumi then tightened the lacings and fastened the nylons to the garter tabs. He then pulled a pair of shiny black 3-inch slingback shoes out of the case and put them on. It was then Masumi's turn. She got a towel from the bath and wrapped it around his neck. She then took a good close look at his face, grabbed the tweezers, and went to work on his eyebrows. He had let them go, so she had some real work to do, and she grumbled at him a little bit about not taking care of his appearance like a girl should. She then thoroughly cleaned his face to remove any oils, had him put on his wig cap and tuck all his hair under it. Then she carefully applied the eye tabs to pull the corner of his eyes up and give them an oriental appearance. Added the tapes above his eyebrows to give them a nice arch, stood back and took a long hard look. She smiled her approval. Next came the moisturizer. Mike's face was nice, clear, and soft, and she didn't want to ruin his complexion. She then told him, I want to try and change your skin tone to be closer to mine, more oriental. So, I stopped at that costume shop and picked up this foundation. It's supposed to change your skin tone, we'll see. She carefully applied the foundation, being sure to cover everything that would show, including his cleavage. She again stood back for a good look and smiled. You know, not bad. Not bad at all. I just wish I had enough to do something with your arms, because they aren't going to match. It's cool out today, so I could always wear a sweater over the dress. Good idea. She continued working on his face. She went with a somewhat sultry look, which looked really good on Miyuki. She used black on his eyebrows and bright red lipstick. She then removed the black wig from a box, carefully brushed it out, and placed it on his head. She had it styled in the same manner as her hair. It was done in a shag cut that just rested on his shoulders. She fussed around with it a little, brushed it a little, and smiled. She removed the towel and said with a deep bow, Gabusada shite mesu, Miyuki. I haven't seen you in a long time, Miyuki. Kochira kaso, Masumi, Miyuki replied. Same here, Masumi. Take a look, lover. I think you'll like it. Miyuki turned and looked in the mirror. Looking back at her was a pretty Japanese girl with dark eyes, long dark hair, and a pretty smile. Masumi had done a wonderful job. Wow! If I didn't know better, I would think that I'm looking at the picture of another person. I have a little confession to make. A confession? Uh-huh. I needed something to occupy my time while you were gone and didn't have any studying to do. I found out that the costume store offered classes in makeup. So, I checked it out. For the most part, they taught how to do clown, fright, and that sort of makeup. But I talked to the instructor, and she said that she could help me. And you can see the result. Time well spent, babe. He looked closer in the mirror. Is there no end to your talents? I think that I almost like Miyuki better than Michelle. He got up, put the black slip on, and then the little black dress. Looked in the mirror, and just loved what he saw, as did Masumi. He took the black sweater that Masumi had brought and slipped it on. It was a little tight, but would do for tonight. It didn't take Masumi long to get ready. They gathered their things, including Miyuki's wedding and engagement rings, walked out of the room and to the elevator. They exited the elevator at the lobby and started walking to the front door with their heels clicking on the marble floor. They noticed everyone watching them and smiling at two pretty girls. This had happened before, and they loved it. They had a very enjoyable meal and walked around the area a little. Miyuki didn't want to walk too far in 3-inch heels. /media/audio/gabusada. Wave after they returned to the hotel, they found their bench and sat for a while. They didn't sit long, as it had turned cold and Masumi didn't have a coat with her. They headed back into the hotel to the same looks and smiles. As they walked into the room, Masumi turned around and gave Miyuki a deep kiss. After breaking the kiss, Masumi said, You know, lover, when you dress as a girl, it's a major turn-on for me. Michelle is a turn-on. But there's something about Miyuki that really gets me hot. She kissed Miyuki again. It wasn't long before they were undressing each other. It took a little longer to remove what Miyuki was wearing, but not much. They made love with Mike still looking like a girl, makeup, and a wig. The next morning, they had a light breakfast in their room and packed up everything. Masumi was unusually quiet. The bellhop took their suitcases back to the lobby, they took care of the bill, and headed home. It was a quiet ride, to start with. It looked like Masumi was in deep thought, and Mike didn't want to disturb her. He knew she would talk when she was ready. It was a good 2 hours into their drive home when Masumi finally broke the silence. I'm sorry I've been so quiet. But I've just been trying to sort out things. That's okay, babe. What kind of things? How I felt last night. How's that? Back when you first told me that you liked to dress like a girl, it was a real turn-on. And there have been times when you've been dressed that if we hadn't gotten out of house, I would have been all over you. Really? Yes. And last night after you were all made up as Miyuki, we were lucky to make it out of the room. It was such a major turn on. The only thing I could think of all night was what I wanted to do to you when we got back to the room. And have you been able to figure things out? No. And it kind of scares me. Why do I feel like I do when you're dressed as a girl? Am I really a lesbian, bi, or what? Why do I feel this way? They were coming up on a rest area along the interstate, and Mike pulled in. This rest area was one of those that had a really nice picnic area. So, Mike parked the car near that area. As it was early, it was deserted. Mike got out, went around to the other side of the car, and helped Masumi out. Holding her hand, he led her over to one of the picnic tables, and they sat facing each other. She looked at him a little strangely and started to say something. He hushed her by saying, "Hush. Just close your eyes and sit here quietly for a few minutes." She closed her eyes and sat quietly. Mike finally said, "Okay. Keep your eyes closed and give me your hands." She reached her hands out to him. He took them and said, "Now, I want you to visualize something and don't say anything until you have a complete picture in your mind." She nodded yes. Mike continued, "When I say so, I want you to open your eyes, take a good look at me, close your eyes, think about what you saw, and then tell me what you see." "Okay, open your eyes." Masumi opened her eyes, looked Mike's face over very carefully, closed her eyes again, and thought for a long while. She then said, "I see my best friend, my soulmate, my husband, and my lover. I see someone that I love to spend all my time with." "Okay, keep your eyes closed. And visualize Michelle and Miyuki. Then tell me what you see." She sat silently even longer, then said, "With them, I see my best girlfriends. I see the other side of my husband, his feminine side. I see someone that I am very comfortable with and love to be with. I see a girl that I really know as my husband. I see someone that is also my lover." "Okay, keep them closed. Now, visualize your real girlfriends back home and here. Visualize Kyoko, Suki, Jean, Dee, Kathy, and anyone else you want to. Then tell me what you see." It didn't take her long. She said, "I see friends. Good friends. I see people that I like to have fun with and are fun to be with. One more. Think back to the Crossdressers club that we went to in Japan. Visualize some of the guys there dressed as girls. Some of the better ones. What do you see?" This took her a little longer than the last one, but she smiled and said, "I saw some guys that liked to express their feminine side. They were fun to be around." "Good. Okay, you can open your eyes now." She opened her eyes and hit him with that very contagious smile of hers. He couldn't help but smile back at her. He continued, "Think about what you told me about the 4 things I had you think about. And then tell me what you see about yourself." She sat there for a couple of minutes, then said, "You should be the psych major, not me." "You open my eyes. I see, as I've known for a long time, that I am deeply in love with you. Both of you. That I am possibly deeper in love with your feminine side. But that in the end, I want the male side more. That I'm not interested in anyone else, male or female, cross-dressed or not. I still need to think about this more, but now the water is no longer muddy." They got up, she threw her arms around his neck and gave him a deep kiss. She broke it and said, "I cannot tell you this enough. I love you." He smiled at her and said, "I love you too." They walked hand in hand, back to the car, and finished their drive home in a more normal way. Masumi was her usual chatty self. Please subscribe for the next part and visit my Patreon page for early access.